Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Hope you are well. I am feeling sorry for myself this morning because I have a sore throat and my head is killing. So, I don't know, I've passed it on to Millie as well, so she's got that now during prep, which is absolutely terrible for her. Today's episode is going to be talking about strength training, right? So, most people know that you go to the gym and you do that for your fitness and health, but why legitimately is that really important? And I'd like to change and reshape your thought process when it comes to this, because most people who do strength training don't do it for a long enough period of time to see really big benefits from that. So they go for 6 months, a year, or they go for 3 months because they're on this high diet kick or whatever it is, and then they end up not doing it for the longest period of time. And actually, the benefits that you get from strength training are absolutely whatever it is, and then they end up not doing it for the longest period of time. And actually, the benefits that you get from strength training are absolutely essential for later life, and I want to go into that a little bit later, but at the same time it's absolutely essential for your day-to-day as well. So let's just categorize what strength training is. So you're using some form of resistance. Could be your body, could be weights, it could be a barbell, it could be a box, it could be a sandbag, it could be someone else, it could be a band, it could be your body weight. But you're using resistance to stress muscle tissue and create resistance with your muscle tissue, which then causes it to contract and relax over a multiple period of time, and therefore you get adaptations from that. So for example, there's an old adage about an innkeeper or a shepherd or something like that. I don't know who the hell it is that has this analogy, but basically a young guy has a sheep on his back. When he's having it, bear with me on this one, has a sheep on his back as a baby lamb. And as the lamb gets bigger, he's walking with the lamb on his back. And as the lamb gets bigger, he also gets bigger. Why? Because the lamb is increasing in size, increasing in resistance. So the guy, the farmer, whoever it is, his body must cope with the demands of the increased size of the lamb to allow him to continue walking. That's what resistance training is. Effectively, you apply a stress, your body goes, I know how to cope with that stress by making myself stronger, and then you add a bigger resistance which is stronger than the one that you used before, and that goes, no, I'm going to make that stronger again, whether that's in strength, whether that's in muscle size, and therefore you just have this evolution of building over time. And that's one major reason why people go to the gym, to get their strength training increased. And with that creates a whole host of benefits that comes with increased strength, resistance, because you're not only just stressing the muscle tissue from doing your circuit class or your body weight exercises or your weight training. Your muscles attach onto joints, and then your joints attach onto bone. Well, your joints are bones. So to think that there is no ramifications or possibilities of benefits for the joints and bones and ligaments that go alongside with the resistance training is crazy. And actually, when you deep it and you go further down into why strength training is really, really important, you can go down to the cellular level, the psychology of training and what it does to you in terms of giving you that extra boost after it. It's, they're called endorphins, in which are chemicals released in the brain from an enjoyment perspective after you've done something quite hard. And that can then carry you through your day in terms of your perceived level of happiness throughout the day, your enjoyment. So there are massive psychological benefits to going, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. But overall, most people get why they strength train wrong. And when you go in with the wrong intentions, you get the wrong results, or you create expectations that cannot be lived up to. So let's break it down from a psychological perspective of training. What do you do when you go to a training session? You put your phone down. You move away from the kids, the wife, the husband, the work stresses. You move away from all these areas and you go to an area in which you have less time to think about those things and less pressures from those areas, because you're taking 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour and a half away from your usual busy day-to-day life to disassociate and detach away from the common stresses that you will have on a day-to-day basis. That is super valuable. Imagine being in a room 24/7, 7 days a week, and just being constantly up here and stressed and have this perception of pressure all on you all of the time. Most people have this and they don't realize that they have it because they get distracted by different things, but proverbially they have a common stressor on them most of the time, whether that's the kids, the work stress, their life, the relationship, the environment that they're in. Most people need an outlet. And, most people utilize food and eat their feelings. But if you want a consistent outlet and something in which is going to give you it back over time consistently and add more benefits to your life, the benefits of training and taking that hour away, that 30 minutes away, to then benefit the rest of your day is really important Most people are too short-sighted. I can't give 30 minutes to that strength training session. I can't give 20 minutes away to go for a walk because they're thinking so much short-term on that 20 minutes and what they have to do and how much it's precious and what happens if I don't do that and what if I do this. They're living in a state of that 20 minutes is so important that they realize the last 6 hours they've been so unproductive because they're so bogged down with the stress and the weight of everything that they've got going on that they over time become less productive as their stress goes up and the precious amount, and they become less action taking and bogged down, and they don't even realize that they're working at 50% their capacity because of everything that they're burdening, their pressures, their stress, their even their headspace, even their motivation to do shit has gone down by 50% because of everything else that they've got going on top. So it's short-sighted to think that you don't have 20 minutes. 30 minutes to get a benefit for the rest of your day. I can break down and have done for years, broke down CEO schedules, busy mum schedules, corporate workers plus looking after parents when they get home schedules. And I can always find 30 minutes. And I will challenge you, and if you have a schedule you think you cannot train in, you send it me on Instagram at nathan.autonomy and I will tell you a place where you can do something that benefits your life. Most people have it, they just, as I said before, are choosing that 20 minutes to do something that's feeding into that whole cycle of psychological stress over and over again. They're choosing not to release the stress to then be better over time. Anyway, so psychologically, you are taking a break from everything. And therefore, when you take a break from something, you disassociate, your attention goes elsewhere, you get a benefit from that, you create a positive association, and now you have a coping mechanism to deal with your day. That isn't food, that isn't alcohol, that isn't nicotine, that isn't cigarettes, that isn't, getting shit-faced. It's a positive one without calories. And the longer you do life for, the more you'll realize that you can't just use those short-term gratification things like the alcohol, the food, without there being negative ramifications. And at some point in your life, you're going to need to find positive associations to relieve your stress. Some people that's meditation, some people that's yoga, some people that's going on holiday more frequently and having weekend breaks away. But realistically, the most important one that adds so many other benefits, I'm going to tell about in a bit, is doing some sort of resistance training for yourself and strength training for yourself where you're moving your body, feeling better because you're moving your body and getting that benefit of psychological stress. I haven't trained in 4 weeks, but what I have been doing is walks. Now, there was a week where I didn't do anything and I just didn't leave the house for a week. Didn't intend to do it, just did it. And it was miserable. My headspace was absolutely terrible and I forgot how good it was to go out in the house. However, most people who don't do strength training for the psychological benefits have just never felt the psychological benefits because they're too worried about what they look like in the gym or what someone else doing, or that they're going to look like an idiot, or they're too busy texting on the phone in the sets, and or not being present. That you have to tune in to get the psychological benefits. And if you've never had them, the time is to get them before you can say that the strength training isn't like a safe place or a helpful place for me. It's because you're probably fucking distracted all the time with the other shit that you got going on. You can't actually tune in on one thing. So I would challenge you to tune in on one thing and go to the gym and focus on yourself. And if that's walking, that's walking. It's resistance training, whatever it is. I don't care. Just move your fucking body, please, for the benefits psychologically of doing that. So once you've got the benefits psychologically, the research is really clear. Those that strength train, those that exercise have a higher quality of life, and lower perceived level of stress. Which means that if before you walked in the gym, you thought your stress was 15 out of 10, when you leave the gym, you will have a lower perceived level of stress, which means 7 out of 10. And what's most importantly to this is that the stress that is applied afterwards, let's say you go to the gym in the morning at 7 a.m. and your stress level is a 6 out of 10 before you go to the gym. When you finish the gym, they're a 4 out of 10. And then over the course of the day, Marion at work's being a fucking cunt and she's just annoying the shit out of you. Then your stress levels normally, because you haven't strength trained, would go straight to an 8 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10. And that's when you'd be eating your feelings. That when you'd be like, you're smoking out the back door, trying to get stress relief, or you build it up over time and you explode when you get home in terms of eating from the cupboards or make rash decisions. You'll be at a 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10 when you actually strength train, because the perception of your stress is less. Doesn't mean the stress is less, but how you deal with it is less. And if we know anything about how to react, what's good in life, what's negative, it's not actually about the thing, it's about how you react to it. And someone could have 10 times less stress than you, but react to it way worse and get worse ramifications from half the stress. You know people in the world that don't actually legit have any problems, and they are the most stressed. Why? Because their perception of stress is crazy, and they don't also train, and they also don't work on themselves. So hence why. So psychological benefits of training. If anything out of this fucking podcast, you listen to that and you do it, because psychology leads to physiology. What it means is what the brain thinks the body will do, not what you do with the body the brain will do. You have to start here and then work down. So if you're not going to the gym for any psychological benefit, or you don't feel the stress relief in the gym, or you're not seeing it as a massive important factor, you're just like, I want to get lean, I want to get toned, you're missing the big thing that's going to span 20 years, 25 years of your life. Every person that I've ever helped stay in shape forever, we're talking now the last 12, 15 years, all had a correlation between they used the gym as a stress relief, they utilized it as a way to detach away from their day, they used it as a way to break away for their quote-unquote own time. The ones that don't stay in shape are just going to the gym to burn calories and get less fat, because it doesn't stand the test of 20 years. Especially if you do a diet properly, you just won't go afterwards because you see no benefit. But the benefit is the consistent showing up and getting the mental benefits. And if you can't attach into those, you need to work harder when you're in the gym, not physically, but mentally to be there. Move away from the phone. Like, for example, my phone now is a second camera there, but it's on airplane mode. And it's been on airplane all morning because I don't want to touch it. I don't want to get distracted from my walk in the mornings, my coffee with Mills. I don't want to get distracted. So therefore, I don't get distracted. And then when I go to the gym, if I was going to go to the gym, I would use music that's already offline on Spotify, and I wouldn't utilize any like WhatsApping or Instagramming or Gmailing or whatever during that time period, because I want the benefits. And if I don't focus, I'm not going to get the benefits, and then I'm just going to go to the gym and just move my body, but I'm not going to get the psychological benefits, which is really why I'm going, because I could walk outside or I could meditate if I really wanted to, but I want to move my body and I want the benefits psychologically of having that less stress and that detachment away. So that's the psychological benefits. Now, let's talk body-wise. So, females go to the gym. Women, if you change this one thing about going to the gym, you will never have a problem staying in shape forever. I can guarantee that. And that one thing is, if you go to the gym to burn calories and get toned, and that's the only reason why you show up, when you have motivation to get toned or motivation to get losing weight, you won't stand the test of time because you're not going for the right reasons. You're going for a short-term goal that if you can be asked, you'll go. If you can't be asked, you won't go. If you go, and if you're in your 30s, like most of our clients are, if you go as a female for the psychological benefits that I just spoke about, and then you go for the fact is that when you hit the big M, menopause, your bone density is decreasing significantly every single year. And there's only real one way to increase your bone density and stop that from happening and stopping the, let's just say, negative consequences of bone density. So in short, you need to strength train for your bone density. But let me tell you a story about why that's important. Work experience, when I was 17 years old, my mum used to be a nurse, and she used to run a team of nurses, occupational therapists, physios that used to work with elderly people. And I used to go in a work experience because I used to want to be a physio. Well, that worked out well, didn't it? But effectively, what I did was I went into the elderly people's home and you look for the injuries that they had and what was up with them. And there was a night and day difference. If you're 70 years old or 60 years old, 80 years old, the biggest risk to your life is breaking bones. But the biggest risk to your life before that is falls, which break the bones. And the reason why most females are high prevalence of fractures when they're older, in the 70s, 80s, and is because their bone density is very, very low, which means that when they just fall from a small height, they break, shatter bones. And I've seen this hand on hand because I was physioing the women that were 80 years old. The neck of the femur, which is a very strong part normally of their bones, had just snapped in half because they sat down wrong, or they sat down with too aggression, or they stumbled a lit and then boom, it went. But it's very interesting because then you see other ladies that are in there that are not in there for fractures. They're in there because they maybe like have a UTI or a bit loose in their brain. But you see them that they're exercising and they're walking around and they're being active. And you ask them about, you know, what they did in the last 20 years. Oh, I was always on my feet. I was always moving. I was always like lifting boxes during a war or whatever it was. And I was always carrying big things and heavy things. I was doing the gardening all the time. They don't have problems with fractures because they're strength training in their own way. And then the ladies that were getting the fractures, that were getting the falls, which I can go to massive detail, which I will do in a minute because it's really interesting. It's one of my dissertation was on ankle flexibility and like falls. And you just see a high correlation with those that have never exercised. They have never been active. They're housewives or they're sedentary for 20, 30 years. And then they get all of these ramifications of because of their bone density and it wasn't managed by one of the only things that can manage it over time. So if you're going to do anything, ladies, when you're in your 30s, is to save yourself from falling over on your arse when you're 70 and fracturing your hip. It's painful. Having had a knee replacement, I can tell you with hand on heart, if you have any bones or screws because you fractured shit, it is 6 months to a year of hell. And you've probably seen my YouTube videos on that if you haven't, go and check them out because it's fucking bad. So there's one massive benefit. If you're during your menopause or during premenopause and you want to reduce risk of bone density reducing, get in the gym and move your butt. It doesn't matter what people think you're doing, or realistically, if you're not going to go to the gym because you're worried about other people looking at you, but yet you're taking away the idea that in 10 years time, because you didn't go to the gym because other people were looking at you, you increased your risk of fractures, lower quality of life, and potentially early death. I know I'm laying it on thick, but like, come on, like just because you're worried about doing the wrong exercise wrong or someone looking at you gym in the wrong way, bigger thing to play here than worrying about what people are thinking about you. Anyway, so that's one reason. Bone density is a massive reason why you should do it. Secondly is that when you don't have strong muscle tissue and you don't have strong joints and you don't have load going through them more frequently, you get atrophy. So your muscles get smaller as you get older, and therefore you then have less strength in those areas. When you have less strength, then you have less ability to be active. You're going to actually have high degrees of extra pain for no reason, like back pain. Do you know that the most reason why most people get back pain and the cure for back pain, that is legitimately the cure from a research perspective, none of these voodoo psychiatrists, osteopaths, the bullshit side of things, the actual way that you solve most people's back pain, walk. Legitimately. I'll pull the research out for you. And they compared all of these different therapeutic things, cracking your back, chirotherapy, whatever, physiotherapy, chiropractic, whatever, all these bullshit things. Because I used to be one, I know I can call it that. So that's fine, because I know the real reason why they're doing stuff like that, because it's for the money. Cracking your back makes you feel good, and then therefore you come back and you pay them again, even though it has no benefits. So you just got to think about it this way. All of the therapeutic dosages of things that you could potentially get for, lower back pain, and the biggest thing that cures it is walking or exercise in general. What is that, right? Firstly, it's free. Secondly, you don't need a physio for it. And 3 is that if you were doing strength training anyway, you would be doing it, so you have less risk of low back pain. So there's loads of factors to do that, and I'm very passionate about it because ultimately, like, I used to be a person that went to the gym for vanity, and over time I've changed it to be a benefit to my health and a reason to do it for the future. So, and then guess what happens by proxy? You generally just get in shape anyway because you're being consistent and going for a reason that isn't unmotivational. If you want to lose fat one day or you don't want to lose fat the other day, you'll stay, I don't want to go to the gym, I don't want to not go to the gym. But if you wake up in the morning and the reason why you go to the gym is to feel better, there's no day that you don't want to feel better than what you feel right now. If I'm a 6 out of 10, I want to be an 8. If I'm a 4 out of 10, I want to be a 6. If I'm a 1 out of 10, I definitely need to be a 5. If I'm a 10 out of 10, well, then I'm going to keep it at a 10 out of 10. So in terms of muscle tissue, the reason why you want to gain that over time and get stronger over time is because of the associated risks with having low muscle fibers or strength, same as risk as having low bone density. So you're just going to be weaker, less ability to handle stress on your body, at the same time as you're going to have less ability to control, as you get older, your movements and have a higher risk of injuries, etc. And you're not going to, if you have lower levels of muscle tissue, those one-off events or a little 5k run or a little walk to the shops, they're all going to get harder, and your quality of life will get harder too. I know this is sounding very, very ominous, isn't it? But I hopefully you get my point, is that there's so many more benefits to training than it is just going to the gym for weight loss. Anyway, so that's females. If you aren't going to the gym already, to make sure that you don't fall over at 70 and break your hip, I would do that now. Secondly is because if you start now, the whole menopause thing will get better psychologically and physically, and you'll have less signs and symptoms of those particular things. And thirdly is if you do shit that's hard on a day-to-day basis, you won't find life hard. Ladies, if you don't do hard stuff, you won't become more resilient. And I think some things, like let's say for example, the perceptive level of stress, like I spoke about, if you don't do hard shit, the rest of your day will always be hard. So if your hardest thing in your day is getting the kids ready for school, then anything above that, you've conditioned to yourself to think that's stress. But anything above that will take you completely over the edge, and then therefore then you start eating your feelings and start eating more things. But if you legitimately do something called eating the frog, which is where you do things that you don't want to do because the benefit it has, I think you will be infinitely stronger, mentally capable and diligent and resilient to consistently doing strength training and going there for the benefits that it has. So if you fall at the first hurdle of not going because you can't be bothered, or you're only going because you want to do fat loss, or you're only going because you don't end up going more consistently because you think someone's looking at you in the gym, doing the hard stuff is only going to make it better, easier. And exposure therapy is massively crazy, which I'll talk about in a minute, exposure therapy. So hopefully there's some benefits there from benefits of training for females. Second part to the whole of this is that progression makes you feel good. So if you go in the gym and you use the 5 kilo dumbbells, and you go in the gym, but you're using the 5 kilo dumbbells all of the time, it's a surefire way to get bored and to not get any benefit from it. The law of diminishing returns. You do the same thing over and over and over again, and you get not the same response. You get less over time. So if you run on the treadmill for the next 30 days and you do the same speed for the same distance, by the 30th day, your body will adapt it, and you will be burning less calories because your body is trying to be as efficient as possible, burn less calories. So you can't do the same thing day in and day out. So progress with your strength training has to be absolutely in there. It doesn't mean you have to go and pick up the 3 plates aside deadlift and be deadlifting like the lads in the over there grunting and groaning at 50 kilo dumbbells or whatever it is, but you have to do more than you did a week ago, a month ago, 2-3 days ago, 2 sessions ago. Because if you don't, the law of diminishing return states that if you do the same shit, you'll get different results by the end of it. So if you do that same class with the same exercises, the same Barry's boot camp, and you're using the same 5 kilo dumbbells that you always have done, and you're getting a sweat on and you think you're doing a good job, you're getting less from it every single time. If you use the same dumbbells, if you use the same intensity, if you use the same treadmill speed, have a think about that one. So if you're doing strength training and you're using the whole element of I will get stronger and I will test myself more than I did last week, then you have an ability to get a mental gratitude and a positive feedback loop that you have been successful today. I can't understate how important that is. When we live in a world where we don't see much gratification for ourselves, when we don't pat ourselves on the back enough, or we are overly hard on ourselves, or equally we just have a shit week and there's nothing that's gone right. This is played up, that is played up, work didn't go to plan the way it was due, this didn't work out, I can get moaned out when I get home from work, whatever it is. Finding a positive in the week can be as simple as just going to the gym and trying harder than you have done last time and achieving something you've never done. And don't understate those small, relevant tweaks that you could do to feel grateful and gratitude and positive feedback. You're on the right path and you're doing something good. And if you aren't seeing that because you aren't testing yourself, then you're going to get bored very quickly and not see a return on your investment, not feel good about going to the gym. Because to feel good about going to the gym, you have to get a response from your input. It just doesn't happen by going. If you do the same thing you've done time and time again, the output will be less and less. So you get more bored, less inclined to go, less positive feedback. But if you go and you do something better than you did last week, and you always do something better than last week, and you always make a little bit of progress, then the evolution is forwards. You're getting a little snapshot of I did better than last week. I'm really happy that I did this. And if you are loving the fact that you're leading towards your first press up, your first pull up, you're doing your bent over rows, you're doing your squats, and you feel like you're getting stronger because you are getting stronger because you tried hard and you did more than you did last week, that positive loop just happens and happens and happens. So that's why I think you should train. There's so many other benefits, but if for interest of time, and I also just forgot them, so I'll have to move on. So when it comes to guys, you're the exact same, so don't think I'm just making a point about the whole menopause thing because you guys obviously don't get that. But guys, for you guys, it's the same process. If you don't have goals that are strength related, progression related, and you only go in the gym for losing weight, building muscle, like vanity reasons, you won't stand the test of time. I really think that if you want any person that wants to stand the test of time with their gymming, they have to make it about their health, mindset or their health, and then they have to get the secondary outcome about strength and progress. If you make it all about what my body looks like today or the fat loss that I want, when you gain a pound, you will not want to go to the gym because it's all about vanity. Vanity comes at the third stage of training, at the lower end, happens by discord. It happens by the effects of consistency on the other areas and the nutrition that you're going to go through. But let's just talk about this whole element of like going to the gym or doing strength training for physical benefit. if you go in the gym to physically change yourself and you think that's a short-term thing and you think that by 2 weeks you're going to have a different visual look just by going in the gym alone, you'll be much disappointed. And that's probably why you're in a spiral, potentially have been in a spiral before, about not doing all the effort but getting no rewards. The reality is, if you want to change your visual shape, the way that you look, the toning of your arms, the leg features that you have, the more curvy your butt, the cheeks, the washboard abs, or just a flat stomach, it doesn't happen in the gym. It doesn't happen during strength training. It doesn't happen while lifting weights. It happens when you exercise and burn calories from a walking perspective, and I'll explain that in a minute. And it happens when you follow your fucking diet and you eat less than what you should do. And if you do that consistently enough, the strength training is more for strength. It's more for building muscle tissue over a long period of time. It's more for your health reasons. You don't burn fat by going to the gym. And I want to explain why. So, you've got a fucking Apple Watch, or you've got a MyZone heart rate belt, and it tells you that you burnt 1,000 calories in that Barry's boot camp. It's wrong. And it's wrong because why do you think Barry's would have the calories burned on the board for you to look at as a game? Because if you feel like you've burnt 1,000 calories at their boot camp, you're going to come back again, considering that the cross trainer for half an hour burned you 300 calories. You get 3 times the output from Barry's than you do from a cross trainer in what they're saying, and all you have to do is pay £25 for the session. La la. Why would they do that? Because it means long-term retention. And I've got a big thing about coaches keeping clients for the longest time period. But it's the same with Barry's boot camps and circuit classes, physiotherapists. They're all the same. They have mechanisms that make you want to come back. That's a good business model. Why do you keep going back to Nike? Or why do you keep going back to fucking Starbucks? They have a good business model because you want to go back. That's repeat customers. You can either get customers 3 ways. You either get new customers, or you get buying again from old customers. And the other one is, I don't know, I forgot the other one. That's why I'm not very good at business. But it's much easier to get repeat business from someone that's already bought from you than it is new business overall. So if they get something for you to come back and back again, then you're going to come back again. So that's why they have the calories tracked on these big MyZone belts and these things at a gym, at these big cardio classes or circuit classes, is because if you feel the gratification, the thing that I just spoke about before, about the whole progress thing and the reason that you're going to the gym and feeling good about yourself, if you see that 1,000 calorie marker, you're going to want to go back and burn another 1,000 calories next time. But it's not particularly true. So the reason why it's not particularly true is because there's no pure way to calculate an energy expenditure, and there's no way that you can burn that many calories based on your body weight. Like, think of it this way. If you walk 10,000 steps, which takes an hour and a half, 2 hours across the day, if you will focus block on it, and you're 80 kilos, you may be able to burn 1,000 calories from that, 800 to 1,000 calories. But if you're a 50 kilo female, that same walking, you'll only burn 400 to 500 calories because of your body weight. So to say that 10 people in a Barry's bootcamp class, all different body weights, all different sizes, burn 1,000 calories plus an hour session is crazy. You're telling me a 40 kilo, 50 kilo female can burn 1,000 calories in the same time that a 100 kilo person can burn 1,000 calories? Not a chance. They would have to do double the work because they're half the body weight, which means they burn half the calories. So just take that into consideration. So the reason why I say all this is because the way that you get in shape is all about how much exercise you do, how many calories you burn on a day-to-day basis, and how much you follow nutrition strategies called a calorie deficit. How often you do those and how strict you are with it and how aggressive you are with the numbers will determine the results that you get. When you go to the gym, when you lift weights, do a strength training class, you will burn 200 to 300 calories on a day-to-day basis. But your diet will burn 500 calories, and then your exercise, if you do steps and 10,000 steps a day, you may burn 800 calories from that. It's the third most important out of all of them in terms of training and burning calories. So if you're going to the gym to burn the calories, but you're not doing the nutrition or your exercise of 10,000 steps, you're doing the third least effective thing to burn fat or get in better shape, which doesn't make sense. And that one won't outdo the other two if they're shit. And you're eating cheat meals at weekends or you're having extra biscuits across the day. It won't outdo that. So the reason why you shouldn't go to the gym for vanity of getting in shape from a fat loss perspective is because it's the least important thing to do for that vanity and for that physique that you want. Your better interests are in nutrition and moving your body through steps and, you know, being active on a day-to-day basis. If you spend the time in the gym thinking about the fat loss and you think that's what's going to get you there, obviously we're wrong based on what we just spoke about before. But why would you set your mindset up to only go to the gym for that reason when I just explained all the massive elements of it that you could benefit from if you channeled into it? Most people don't channel into the psychological benefits or the health benefits because they're so hyper focused on the fat loss, because that's more an immediate goal, because you stepped up, you put your size 12 jeans on and you don't fit anymore and you now can't get out your brain, and that's why you go in the gym. So my best encouragement to you guys from a strength training perspective, as guys, women, is if you go to the gym and it's a continuum of like 0 to 100% in terms of percentage, like a pie, go to the gym for vanity and fat loss and the physique side of things, 25%. And out then it's a 75%, you want to split that in half: psychological, mindset, and then health and longevity and the feeling good plus body feels good too, progress and strength and enjoyment from the gratitude of getting better. And if you go with the mindset of it being split into those thirds, you won't have an issue. If it's 90% visuals, fat loss, and 10% psychology and 0% like health benefits, you won't stand the test of time, because at some point that goal of fat loss will mean less to you, and then therefore you will not go to the gym because it doesn't mean anything to you. And that 10% of going to the gym for psychology isn't that much in reality. So hopefully this was useful in some way, shape or form. I know probably a bit morbid towards the ladies. Sorry about that one. You know, bone density is massively important. I've seen a lot of people with fractures, so I've seen it's really, really important. But if you can get the gym for psychological reasons and health reasons before you get there because of your fat loss, and you realize the fat loss can be done elsewhere, you're going to have a much more 20-year enjoyment out of this gym stuff. And you're going to go when it's hard. You're going to go for the long-term benefits. You're going to go for the psychological benefits. And if you're a stress eater, or you're a stressy person, or you binge eat, or you binge drink, but you're not training to release the demons, or you're not releasing any type of positive distraction, then start that before you start thinking about your binge eating, because it's probably because you're just not focusing on something else other than all the stress that you've got going on in your life. Have a great day, guys. Speak to you soon.